Okay, hello ladies and gentlemen, Forrest Walpin here, and welcome back to more Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Percy Jackson, the Olympians, the Lightning Thief. We did read a couple of chapters earlier, but now we're continuing where we left off with chapters 17 through 19. And then we will be reaching the final part, reading chapters 20 through 22 at a later point. But I'm going to be very interested to see how we go with this story. So, without further ado, I do have our music ready for the scene that we're about to take part of. So, without further ado, let's begin. Chapter 17. We shop for waterbeds. It was Annabeth's idea. She loaded us into the back of a Vegas taxi as if we actually had money, and told the driver, "Los Angeles, please." Hold on, let me make sure the thing isn't too... Where did the remote that I have for this? Oh, there it is. Let's turn this down a little bit, shall we? There we go. The cabbie chewed a cigar and sized us up. That's 300 miles. For that you gotta pay up front. You accept casino debit cards? Annabeth asked. He shrugged. Some of them, same as credit cards. You gotta swipe them through first. Annabeth handed him her green Lunas cash card. He looked at it skeptically. Swipe it, Annabeth invited. He did. His meter machine started rattling. The lights flashed. Finally, an infinity symbol came up next to the dollar sign. The cigar fell out of the driver's mouth. He looked at us, his eyes wide. We're in Los Angeles. Where to Los Angeles? Your Highness? The Santa Monica Pier. Annabeth sat up a little straighter. I can tell she liked the Your Highness thing. Gonna stare fast and you can keep the change. Maybe she shouldn't have told him that. The cab's speedometer never dipped below 95 the whole way through the Mojave Desert. On the road, we had plenty of time to talk. I gotta go back to, wait. Hold on a second. That was actually kind of good timing on it. So now we're going back to road tripping. So we gotta find a road trip. Gotta find a road tripper. See if we can find it. Where do we have it at? I'm pretty sure we can find something. Yeah, I'm trying to see if maybe implementing some music might not be a bad idea. So that's what I'm doing. But we gotta find some. Yeah, there you go. Oh, here we go. This was what I looked for. I thought this was really good for road trip music on this one. On the road, we had plenty of time to talk. I told Annabeth and Rover about my latest dream, but the details got sketchier the more I tried to remember them. The Lotus Casino seemed to have short-circuited my memory. I couldn't recall what the invisible servant's voice had sounded like, though I was sure it was somebody I knew. The servant had called the monster in the pit something other than my lord, some special name or title. The silent one? Annabeth suggested. The rich one? Both of those are nicknames for Hades. Maybe, I said, though neither sounded quite right. The throne room sounds like Hades, Grover said. That's the way it's usually described. I shook my head. Something's wrong. The throne room wasn't the main part of the dream. And that voice in the pit, I don't know, it just didn't feel like the god's voice. Annabeth's eyes widened. What? What? I asked. Oh, nothing. I was just... No, it has to be Hades. Maybe he sent this thief, this invisible person, to get the Master Ball and something went wrong. Like what? I don't know, she said. But if he stole Zeus's symbol of power from Olympus, and the gods were hunting him, I mean, a lot of things could go wrong. So this thief had to hide the bolt, or he lost it somehow. Anyway, he failed to bring it to Hades. That's what the voice said in your dream, right? The guy failed. That would explain what the Furies were searching for when they came after us on the bus. Maybe they thought we had retrieved the bolt. I wasn't sure what was wrong with her. She looked pale. But if I'd already retrieved the bolt, I said, why would I be traveling to the Underworld? To threaten Hades, Grover suggested. To bribe or blackmail him into getting your mom back. I whistled. You have evil thoughts for a goat. Why, thank you. But the thing in the pit said it was waiting for two items, I said. If the Master Bolt is one, what's the other? Grover shook his head, clearly mystified. Annabeth was looking at me as if she knew my next question and was silently willing me not to ask it. You have an idea what might be in that pit, don't you? I asked her. I mean, if it isn't Hades. Percy, let's not talk about it. Because if it isn't Hades... No, it has to be Hades. Wasteland rolled by. We passed a sign that said, California State Line 12 miles. I got the feeling I was missing one simple crucial point of information. It's like when I started at a common word I should know, but I couldn't make sense of it because one or two letters were floating around. The more I thought about my quest, the more I was sure that confronting Hades wasn't the real answer. There was something else going on. Something else even more dangerous. The problem was, we were hurtling toward the underworld at 95 miles an hour, betting that Hades has the Master Bolt. If we got there and found out we were wrong, you wouldn't have time to correct ourselves. The solstice deadline would pass and war would begin. The answer is in the underworld, Annabeth assured me. You saw spirits of the dead, Percy. That's only one place that could be. We're doing the right thing. She tried to boost our morale by suggesting clever strategies for getting into the land of the dead, but my heart wasn't in it. There were just too many unknown factors. It was like cramming for a test without knowing the subject. And believe me, I'd done that enough times. The time sped west. Every gust of wind through Death Valley sounded like a spirit of the dead. Every time the brakes hissed on an 18-wheeler, it reminded me of Echidna's reptilian voice. Hmm. Hmm. So I'm trying to think. We'll probably not play music on this part because I'm not sure what kind of music would be fitting for it. At sunset, the taxi dropped us at the beach in Santa Monica. It looked exactly the way LA beaches do in the movies, only it smelled worse. There were carnival rides hitting the pier, palm trees lining the sidewalk. Actually, hmm. And they got things for everything, don't they? At sunset, the taxi dropped us on at the beach in Santa Monica. It looked exactly the way LA beaches do in the movies, only it smelled worse. There were carnival rides lining the pier, palm trees lining the sidewalks, homeless guys sleeping in the sand dunes, and surfer dudes waiting for the perfect wave. Grover, Annabeth, and I walked down to the edge of the surf. What now? Annabeth asked. The Pacific was turning gold in the setting sun. I thought about how long it had been since I'd stood on the beach of Montauk, on the opposite side of the country, looking out at a different sea. How could there be a God who could control all that? What did my science teacher used to say? 2/3 of the world's Earth's surface was covered in water? How could I be the son of someone that powerful? I stepped into the surf. Percy, Annabeth said, what are you doing? I kept walking up to my waist, then to my chest. She called after me. You know how polluted that water is? There's all kinds of toxic... That's when my head went under. I held my breath first. It's difficult to intentionally inhale water. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I gasped. Sure enough, I could breathe normally. I walked out into the shoals. I shouldn't have been able to see through the murk. Well, yeah, we're underwater now, so you gotta do underwater. That's how it is. I walked down into the shoals. I shouldn't have been able to see through the murk, but somehow I could tell where everything was. I could sense the rolling texture of the bottom. I could make out sand dollar colonies dotting the sandbars. I could even see the currents, warm and cold streams swirling together. I felt something rub against my leg. I looked down and almost shot out of the water like a ballistic missile. Sliding along beside me was a 5-foot-long mako shark. But the thing wasn't attacking. It was nuzzling me, feeling like a dog. Tentatively, I touched its dorsal fin. It bucked a little, as if inviting me to hold tighter. I grabbed the fin with both hands. It took off, pulling me along. The shark carried me down into the darkness. It deposited me at the edge of the ocean proper, where the sandbank dropped off into a huge chasm. It was like standing on the rim of the Grand Canyon at midnight, not being able to see much, but knowing the void was right there. The surface shimmered maybe 150 above. I knew I should have been crushed by the pressure. Then again, I shouldn't have been able to breathe. I wondered if there was a limit to how deep I could go. If I could sink straight to the bottom of the Pacific. Then I saw something glimmering in the darkness. Growing bigger and brighter as it rose toward me. A woman's voice, like my mother's, called, Percy Jackson. As she got closer, her shape became clearer. She had flowing black hair, a dress made of green silk. Light flickered around her, and her eyes were so distractingly beautiful, I hardly noticed the stallion-sized seahorse she was riding. She dismounted. The seahorse and the mako shark whisked off and started playing something that looked like tag. The underwater lady smiled at me. You've come far, Percy Jackson. Well done. I wasn't quite sure what to do, so I bowed. You're the woman who spoke to me in the Mississippi River. Yes, child. I am a Nereid, a spirit of the sea. It was not easy to appear so far upriver, but the naiads and my freshwater cousins helped sustain my life force. They honor Lord Poseidon, though they do not serve in his court. And you serve in Poseidon's court? She nodded. It has been many years since a child of the sea god has been born. We have watched you with great interest. Suddenly I remembered faces in the waves off Montauk Beach when I was a little boy, reflections of smiling women, like so many of the weird things in my life. I'd never given it much thought before. If my father is so interested in me, I said, why isn't he here? Why doesn't he speak to me? A cold current rose out of the depths. Do not judge the Lord of the Sea too harshly, the narrator told me. He stands at the brink of an unwanted war. He has much to occupy his time. Besides, he has forbidden to help you directly. The gods may not show such favoritism. Even to their own children? Especially to them. The gods can work by indirect influence only. That is why I give you a warning and a gift. She held out her hand. 3 white pearls splashed in her palm. I know you journey to Hades' realm, she said. Few mortals have ever done this and survived. Orpheus, who had great music skill. Hercules, who had great strength. Houdini, who could escape even the depths of Tartarus. Do you have these talents? Um, no, ma'am. Ah, but you have something else, Percy. You have gifts you have only begun to know. The oracles have foretold a great and terrible future for you. Should you survive to manhood, Poseidon would not have you die before your time. Therefore take these, and when you are in need, smash a pearl at your feet. What will happen? That, she said, depends on the need. But remember, what belongs to the sea will always return to the sea. What about the warning? Her eyes flickered with green light. Go with what your heart tells you, or you will lose all. Hades feeds on doubt and hopelessness. He will trick you if he can, make you mistrust your own judgment. Once you are in his realm, he will never willingly let you leave. Keep faith. Good luck, Percy Jackson. She summoned her seahorse and rode toward the void. Wait! I called. At the river. You said not to trust the gifts. What gifts? Goodbye, young hero, she called back, her voice fading into the depths. You must listen to your heart. She became a speck of glowing green, and then she was gone. I wanted to follow her down into the darkness. I wanted to see the court of Poseidon, but I looked up at the sunset darkening on the surface. My friends were waiting. We had so little time. I clicked upward toward the shore. When I reached the beach, my clothes dried instantly. I told Grover and Annabeth what had happened and showed them the pearls. Annabeth grimaced. No gift comes without a price. They were free. No, she shook her head. There's no such thing as a free lunch. That's an ancient Greek saying that translated pretty well into American. There will be a price. You wait. On that happy thought, we turned our backs on the sea. Hmm. I don't know what would be a good song would be good for this bit, so we'll play. I'll keep reading until we get to a good part. With some spare change from Aries' backpack, we took the bus into West Hollywood. I showed the driver the Underworld address slip I had taken from LTM's Garden Gnome Emporium, but he'd never heard of DOA recording studios. You remind me of somebody I seen on TV, he told me. You a child actor or something? Uh, I'm a stunt double for a lot of child actors. Oh, that explains it. We thanked him and got off quickly at the next stop. We wandered for miles on foot, looking for DOA. Nobody seemed to know where it was. It didn't appear in the phone book. Twice we ducked into alleys to avoid cop cars. I froze in front of an appliance store window because the television was playing an interview with somebody who looked very familiar. My stepdad, Smelly Babe. He was talking to Barbara Walters. I mean, as if he were some kind of huge celebrity. She was interviewing him in our apartment, in the middle of a poker game, and there was a young blonde lady sitting next to him, patting his hand. A faint tear glistened on his cheek. He was saying, "Honest, Miss Walters, if it wasn't for Sugar here, my grief counselor, I'd be a wreck. My stepson took everything I cared about. My wife, my Camaro. I'm sorry, I have trouble talking about it." There you have it, America. Barbara Walters turned to the camera. A man torn apart. An adolescent boy with serious issues. Let me show you again the last known photo of this troubled young fugitive taken a week ago in Denver. The screen cut to a grainy shot of me, Annabeth and Grover, standing outside the Colorado diner, talking to Aries. "Who are the other children in this photo?" Barbara Walters asked dramatically. "Who is the man with them? Is Percy Jackson a delinquent, a terrorist, or perhaps the brainwashed victim of a frightening new cult? When we come back, we chat with the leading child psychologist. Stay tuned, America." This very much is poking fun at how news media can, on both sides of the coin, can try to paint, can try to spin a certain thing in certain ways. That's just how the media can be at times. "Come on," Grover told me. He hauled me away before I could punch a hole in the appliance store window. It got dark, and hungry-looking characters started coming out on the streets to play. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a New Yorker. I don't scare easy. But LA has a totally different feel from New York. Back home, everything seemed close. It didn't matter how big the city was. You could get anywhere without getting lost. The street pattern of the subway made sense. There was a system to how things worked. A kid could be safe as long as he wasn't stupid. LA wasn't like that. It was spread out, chaotic, hard to move around. Hmm. Hmm. Sure, why not? Let's move it. LA wasn't like that. It was spread out, chaotic, hard to move around. It reminded me of Aries. It wasn't enough for LA to be big. It had to prove it was big by being loud and strange and difficult to navigate too. I didn't know how we were ever going to find the entrance to the Underworld by tomorrow, the summer solstice. We walked past bangers, bums, and street hawkers, who looked at us like we were trying to figure out if we were worth the trouble of mucking. As we hurried past the entrance of an alley, a voice in the darkness said, "Hey you!" Like an idiot, I stopped. Before I knew it, we were surrounded. A gang of kids encircled us. 6 of them in all. White kids with expensive clothes and mean faces. Like the kids at Yancey Academy. Rich brats playing the being bad boys. Instinctively, I untucked Riptide. When the sword appeared out of nowhere, the kids backed off. But their leader was either really stupid or really brave because he kept coming at me with a switchblade. I made the mistake of swinging. The kid yelped, but he must have been 100% mortal because the blade passed harmlessly right through his chest. He looked down. What the? What the? I figured I had about 3 seconds before his shock turned to anger. Run! I screamed to Annabeth and Grover. We pushed 2 kids out of the way and raced down the street, not knowing where we were going. We turned a sharp corner. There! Annabeth shouted. Hold up. I just realized. I figured I had about 3 seconds before his shock turned to anger. Run! I screamed at Annabeth and Grover. We pushed 2 kids out of the way and raced down the street, not knowing where we were going. We turned a sharp corner. There! Annabeth shouted. Only one store on the block looked open, its windows glaring with neon. The sign above the door said something like, Trust Dewey's water aboard bed of face. Rusty's water bed palace? Grover translated. It didn't sound like a place I'd ever go except in an emergency, but this definitely qualified. We burst through the doors, ran behind a waterbed, and ducked. A split second later, the 10 kids ran past outside. I think we lost them, Grover panted. A voice behind us boomed. Lost who? We all jumped. Standing behind us was a guy who looked like a raptor in a leisure suit. He was at least 7 feet tall, with absolutely no hair. Standing behind us was a guy who looked like a raptor in a leisure suit. He was at least 7 feet tall, with absolutely no hair. He had gray leathery skin, thick lighted eyes, and a cold, reptilian smile. He moved toward us slowly, but I got the feeling he could move fast if he needed to. His suit might have come from the Lost Lotus Casino. It belonged back in the 70s, big time. The shirt was silk paisley, unbuttoned halfway down his hairless chest. The lapels on his snug velvet jacket were wide as landing stripes. The silver chains around his neck, I couldn't even count them. I'm crusty, he said with a tartar yellow smile. I resisted the urge to say, yes you are. Sorry to barge in, I told him. We were just, browsing. You mean hiding from those no-good kids? He grumbled. They hang around every night. There's been a lot of people in here, thanks to them. Say, you want to look at a waterbed? I was about to say no thanks when he put a huge paw on my shoulder and steered me deeper into the showroom. There was every kind of waterbed you could imagine. Different kinds of wood, different patterns of sheets, queen size, king size, emperor of the universe size. This is my most popular model. Krusty spread his hands. Most popular model. Krusty spread his hands proudly over a bed covered with black satin sheets, with built-in lava lamps on the headboard. The mattress vibrated so it looked like an oil-flavored jello. Million hand massage, Krusty told us. Go on, try it out. Shoot, take a nap, I don't care. No business today anyway. I said. I don't think... Million hand massage, Grover cried, and down in. Cried and dove in. Oh, you guys, this is cool. Presley said, stroking his leathery chin. Almost. Almost what, I asked. He looked at Annabeth. Do me a favor and try this one over here, honey. Might fit. Annabeth said, but what? He patted her reassuringly on the shoulder and led her over to the Safari Deluxe model, with the teakwood lions carved into the frame and a leopard patterned comforter. When Annabeth didn't want to lie down, Kirsty pushed her. Hey! She protested. Kirsty snapped his fingers. Ergo! Rope sprang from the sides of the bed, lashing around Annabeth, holding her to the mattress. Grover tried to get up, but Rope sprang from his black satin bed too, and lashed him down. Not cool, he yelled, his voice vibrating from the million hand massage. Not cool at all! The giant looked at Annabeth and turned toward me and grinned. Almost, darn it. I tried to step away, but his hand shot out and clamped down around the back of my neck. Whoa, kid, don't worry. We'll find you one in a second. Let my friends go. Oh, sure I will. But I gotta make them fit first. What do you mean? All the beds are exactly 6 feet, see? Your friends are too short. Gotta make them fit. Annabeth and Grover kept struggling. Can't stand imperfect measurements, Krusty muttered. Ergo! A new set of ropes leaped out from the top and bottom of the beds, wrapping around Grover and Annabeth's ankles, then around their armpits. The rope started tightening, pulling my friends from both ends. Don't worry, Krusty told me. These are stretching jobs. Maybe 3 extra inches on their spines. They might even live. Now why don't we find a bed you like, huh? Percy! Grover yelled. My mind was racing. I knew I couldn't take on this giant waterbed salesman alone. He would snap my neck before I ever got my sword out. Your real name's not Krusty, is it? I asked. Legally, it's Procrustes, he admitted. The stretcher, I said. I remembered the story. The giant who tried to kill Theseus with excess hospitality on his way to Athens. Yeah, the salesman said. But who can pronounce Procrustes? Bad for business. Now, Krusty, anybody can say that. You're right. It's got a good ring to it. His eyes lit up. You think so? Oh, absolutely, I said. And the workmanship on those beds? Fabulous. He grinned hugely, but his fingers didn't loosen over my neck. I tell my customers that. Every time. Nobody bothers to look at the workmanship. How many built-in lava lamp headboards have you seen? Not many. That's right. Percy! Annabeth yelled. What are you doing? Don't mind her. I told Procrustes. She's impossible. The giant laughed. Oh, my customers are. Never 6 feet exactly. So inconsiderate. And then they complain about the fitting. What do you do if they're longer than 6 feet? Oh, that happens all the time. It's a simple fix. He let go of my neck, but before I could react, he reached behind a nearby sales desk and brought a large double-bladed brass axe. He said, I just center the subject as best I can and lop off whatever hangs over on either end. Ah, I said, swallowing hard. Sensible. I'm so glad to come across an intelligent customer. The ropes were really stretching my friends now. Annabeth was turning pale. Grover made gurgling sounds like a strangled goose. So, Krusty, I said, trying to keep my voice light. I glanced at the sales tag on the Valentine-shaped honeymoon special. Does this one really have dynamic stabilizers to stop wave motion? Absolutely. Try it out. Yeah, maybe I will. But would it work even better for a big guy like you? No waves at all? Guaranteed. No way. Way. Show me. He sat down eagerly on the bed, patting the mattress. No waves, see? I snapped my fingers. Ergo! Rope slashed around Krusty and flattened him against the mattress. Hey! He yelled. Center him just right, I said. The ropes readjusted themselves at my command. Krusty's whole head stuck out the top. His feet stuck out the bottom. No! He said. Wait! This is just a demo! I untapped Riptide. A few simple... Yeah, that kind of music is no longer fitting this scene anymore. I untapped Riptide. A few simple adjustments. I had no qualms about what I was about to do. If Krusty were human, I couldn't hurt him anyway. If he was a monster, he deserved to turn into dust for a while. You drive a hard bargain, he told me. I'll give you 30% off on selected floor models. I think I'll start with the top. I raised my sword. No money down! No interest for 6 months! I swung the sword. Krusty stopped making offers. I cut the ropes on the other beds. Annabeth and Rover got to their feet, groaning and wincing and cursing me a lot. You look taller, I said. Very funny, Annabeth said. Be faster next time. I looked at the bulletin board behind Krusty's sales desk. There was an advertisement for Hermes delivery service and another for the all-new compendium of LA area monsters. The only monstrous yellow pages you'll ever need. Under that, the bright orange flyer for DOA recording studios, offering commissions for heroes' souls. We are always looking for new talent. DOA's address was right underneath with a map. Come on, I told my friends. Give us a minute, Clover complained. We were almost stretched to death. Then you're ready for the Underworld, I said. It's only a block from here. Oh. I covered my hand a little bit. Yep, we still got him. So I wanted to see what I... Alright. Okay, we'll just do it when we get to it as we go along. Why not? Chapter 18. Annabeth does obedience school. We stood in the shadows of Valencia Boulevard, looking up at the gold letters etched in black marble. DOA Recording Studios. Underneath, stenciled on the glass doors, no solicitors, no loitering, no living. It was almost midnight, but the lobby was brightly lit and full of people. Behind the secretary desk sat a tough-looking guard with sunglasses and an earpiece. I turned to my friends. Okay, you remember the plan. The plan, Grover gulped. Yeah, I love the plan. Annabeth said, what happens if the plan doesn't work? Don't think negative. Right, she said. We're entering the land of the dead, and I shouldn't think negative. I took the pearls out of my pocket. The 3 milky spears the Nereid had given me in Santa Monica. They didn't seem like much of a backup in case something went wrong. Annabeth put her hand on my shoulder. I'm sorry, Percy. You're right. We'll make it. It'll be fine. She gave Grover a nudge. Oh, right, he chimed in. We got this far. We'll find the master boat and save your mom. No problem. I looked at them both and felt really grateful. Only a few minutes before I'd almost gotten them stretched to death on deluxe waterbeds, and now they were trying to be brave for my sake, trying to make me feel better. That was a failure, don't mind it. I slipped the pearls back into my pocket. Let's whip some underworld butt. We walked inside the DOA lobby. Muzak played softly on the hidden speakers. Music played softly on hidden speakers. The carpet and walls were steel gray. Pencil cactuses grew in the corners like skeleton hands. The furniture was black leather, and every seat was taken. There were people sitting on couches, people standing up, people staring out the windows or waiting for the elevator. Nobody moved or talked or did much of anything. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see them all just fine. But if I focused on any one of them in particular, they started looking transparent. I could see right through their bodies. The security guard's desk was a raised podium, so we had to look up at him. He was tall and elegant, with chocolate-covered skin and bleached blonde hair shaved military style. He wore tortoiseshell shades and a silk Italian suit that matched his hair. A black rose was pinned to his lapel under a silver name tag. I read the name tag, then looked up at him in bewilderment. Your name is Chirin? He leaned across his desk. I couldn't see anything in his glasses except my own reflection, but his smile was sweet and cold like a python's, right before it eats you. What a precious young lad, he said. He had a strange accent, British, maybe, but also if he had learned English as a second language. Tell me, mate, do I look like a centaur? No. Sir, he added smoothly. Sir, I said. He pinched the name tag and ran his fingers under the letters. Can you read this one, mate? It says Charon. Say it with me. Karen. Karen. Amazing. Now, Mr. Karen. Mr. Karen, I said. Well done, he sat back. I hate being confused with that old horseman. And now, how may I help you little dead ones? His question caught in my stomach like a fastball. I looked at Annabeth for support. We want to go to the Underworld, she said. Karen's mouth twitched. Well, that's refreshing. Is it? She asked. Straightforward and honest. No screaming. No, there must be a mistake, Mr. Karen. He looked at us over. How did you die then? I nudged Grover. Oh, he said. Drowned. In the bathtub. All three of you? Karen asked. We nodded. Big bathtub. Karen looked mildly impressed. I don't suppose you have coins for passage. Normally with adults, you see, I could charge your American Express or add the ferry price to your last cable bill. But with the children, alas, you never die prepared. Suppose you'll have to take a seat for a few centuries. Oh, but we have coins. I set 3 golden drachmas on the counter, part of the stash I found in Krusty's office desk. Well now, Karen moistened his lips. Real drachmas. Real golden drachmas. I haven't seen these in... His fingers hovered greedily over the coins. We were so close. Then Karen looked at me. That cold stare behind his glasses seemed to bore a hole through my chest. Here now, he said. You couldn't take my name correctly. Are you dyslexic, lad? No, I said. I'm dead. Karen leaned forward and took a sniff. Oh, you're not dead. I should have known. You're a godling. We have to get into the Underworld, I insisted. Karen made a growling sound deep in his throat. Immediately all the people in the waiting room got up and started pacing, agitated, lighting cigarettes, running hands through their hair, or checking their wristwatches. Leave all you can, Karen told us. Oh, just take these and forget I saw you. He started to go for the coins, but I snatched them back. No service, no tip. I tried to sound braver than I felt. Karen growled again. A deep, blood-chilling sound. The spirits of the dead started pounding on the elevator doors. It's a shame, too, I sighed. We had more to offer. I held up the entire bag from Krusty's stash. I took out a fistful of drachmas and let the coins spill through my fingers. Karen's growl changed into something more like a lion's purr. Do you think I could be bought, Godling? Eh, just out of curiosity, how much have you got there? A lot, I said. I bet Hades doesn't pay you well enough for such hard work. Oh, you don't know the half of it. How would you like to babysit these spirits all day? Always, please don't let me be dead, or please let me get close for free. I haven't had a pay raise in 3,000 years. Do you imagine suits like this come cheap? You deserve better, I agreed. A little appreciation, respect, good pay. With each word, I stacked another gold coin on the counter. Karen glanced down at his silk Italian jacket, as if imagining himself in something even better. I must say, lad, you're making some sense now. Just a little. I stacked another few coins. I tried to mention a pay raise while I'm talking to Hades. He sighed. The boat's almost full anyway. I might as well add you three and be off. He stood, scooped up our money, and said, Come along. We pushed through the crowd of waiting spirits who started grabbing at our clothes like the wind, their voices whispering things I couldn't make out. Karen shoved them out of the way, grumbling, Freeloaders. Is there any actual Underworld music here? I swear, I'd be very surprised if they do. Oh my god, they actually got Underworld right here. Hold on a second. Because I don't know how I've been missing the music part of it all, but okay then. Because we are about to enter the Underworld, so we gotta have something that fits the Underworld music. Oh, there you go. Fucking A. He escorted us to the elevator, which was already crowded with souls of the dead, each one holding a green boarding pass. Karen grabbed two spirits who weren't trying to get on with us and pushed them back into the lobby. Right, now no one get any ideas while I'm gone, he announced to the waiting room. And if anyone moves the dial of my easy listening station again, I'll make sure you're here for another 1,000 years. Understand? He shut the door. He shut the doors. He put a key card into the slot of the elevator panel and we started to descend. What happens to the spirits waiting in the lobby? Annabeth asked. Nothing, Karen said. For how long? Forever. Or until I'm feeling generous. Oh, she said. That's fair. Karen raised an eyebrow. Whoever said death was fair, young miss? Wait until it's your turn. You'll die soon enough where you're going. We'll get out alive, I said. Ha! I got a sudden dizzy feeling. We weren't going down anymore, but forward. The air turned misty. Spirits around me started changing shape. The modern clothes flickered, turning into gray hooded robes. The floor of the elevator began swaying. I blinked hard. When I opened my eyes, Karen's creamy Italian suit had been replaced by a long black robe. His tortoiseshell glasses were gone. Where his eyes should have been were empty sockets, like Ares' eyes, except Karen's were totally dark, full of night and death and despair. He saw me looking and he said, Well? Nothing, I managed. I thought he was grinning, but that wasn't it. The flesh of his face was becoming transparent, letting me see through to his skull. The floor kept swaying. Clover said, I think I'm getting seasick. When I blinked again, the elevator wasn't an elevator anymore. We were standing in a wooden barge. Karen was pulling us across a dark, oily river, swirling with bones, dead fish, and other stranger things. Plastic dolls, crushed carnations, sloppy diplomas with gilt edges. The river sticks, Annabeth muttered. It's so polluted, Karen said. For thousands of years, the humans have been throwing in everything as you come across. Hopes, dreams, wishes that never came true. Irresponsible waste management, if you ask me. Most mist curled off the filthy water. Above us, almost lost in the gloom, was a ceiling of stalactites. Ahead, the oh, oh. Ahead, the far shore glimmered with greenish light, the color of poison. Panic closed up my throat. What was I doing here? These people around me, they were dead. Annabeth grabbed hold of my hand. Under normal circumstances, this would have embarrassed me, but I understood how she felt. She wanted reassurance that somebody else was alive on this boat. I found myself muttering a prayer, though I wasn't quite sure who I was praying to. Down here, only one God mattered, and he was the one I had come to confront. The shoreline of the Underworld came into view. Craggy rocks and black volcanic sand stretched inland, about 100 yards to the base of a high stone wall, which marched off in either direction as far as we could see. A sound came from somewhere nearby in the green gloom, echoing onto stones, the howl of a large animal. All three faces hungry, Karen said. His smile turned skeletal in the greenish light. Bad luck for you, godlings. The bottom of our boat slid into the black sand. The dead began to disembark. A woman holding the little girl's hand. An old man and an old woman bobbing along arm in arm. A boy no older than I was, shuffling silently along in his gray robe. Karen said, I'd wish you luck, mate, but there isn't any down here. Mind you, don't forget to mention my pay raise. He counted our golden coins into his pouch, then took up his pole. He warbled something that sounded like a Barry Manilow song as he ferried the empty barge back across the river. We followed the sprites up a well-worn path. I'm not sure what I was expecting. Curly dates or a big black portcullis or something. But the entrance to the Underworld looked like a cross between airport security and the Jersey Turnpike. There were 3 separate entrances under one huge black archway that said, You are now entering Erebus. Each entrance had a pass-through metal detector with security cameras mounted on top. Beyond this were toll booths, manned by black-robed ghouls like Karen. The howling of the hungry animals was really loud now, but I couldn't see where it was coming from. The 3-headed dog, Cerberus, who was supposed to guard Hades' door, was nowhere to be seen. The dead queued up in the 3 lines. 2 marked attendant on duty, and 1 marked easy death. The easy death line was moving right along. The other 2 were crawling. What do you figure? I asked Annabeth. The fast line must go straight to the asphodel fields, she said. No contest. They don't want to risk judgment from the court because it might go against them. There's a court for dead people? Yes, 3 judges. They switch around who sits on the bench. King Minos, Thomas Jefferson, Shakespeare, people like that. Sometimes they look at a life and decide that person needs a special reward. The fields of Elysium. Sometimes they decide on punishment. But most people, well, they just lived. Nothing special, good or bad. So they go to the as photo fields. And do what? I asked. Grover said, imagine standing in a wheat field in Kansas. Forever. Harsh, I said. Not as harsh as that, Grover muttered. Look. A couple of black-robed ghouls had pulled aside one spirit and were frisking him at the security desk. The face of the dead man looked vaguely familiar. He's that preacher who made the news, remember? Grover asked. Oh yeah, I did remember now. We'd seen him on TV a couple times at the Yancey Academy dorm. He was this annoying televangelist from upstate New York who'd raised millions of dollars for orphanages and then got caught spending the money on stuff for his mansion, like gold-plated toilet seats and an indoor putt-putt golf course. He died in a police chase where his Lamborghini for the Lord went off a cliff. I said, what are they doing to him? Special punishment from Hades, Grover guessed. The really bad people get his personal attention as soon as they arrive. The kindly ones will set up an eternal torture for him. The thought of the Furies made me shudder. I realized I was in their home territory now. Old Mrs. Dodds would be licking her lips with anticipation. But if he's a preacher, I said, and he believes in a different hell, Grover shrugged. Who said he's seeing this place the way we're seeing it? Humans see what they want to see. You're very stubborn, or persistent that way. We got closer to the gates. The howling was so loud now it shook the ground at my feet, but I still couldn't figure out where it was coming from. Then, about 50 feet from in front of us, the green mist shimmered. Standing just where the path split into 3 lanes was an enormous shadowy monster. I hadn't seen it before because it was a half-transparent, like the dead. Until it moved, it blended with whatever was behind it. Only its eyes and teeth looked solid, and it was staring straight at me. Now my jaw hung open. All I could think to say was, he's a Rottweiler. I'd always imagined Cerberus as a big black mastiff, but he was obviously a purebred Rottweiler, except of course that he was twice the size of a woolly mammoth, mostly invisible, and had 3 heads. The dead walked right up to him, no fear at all. The attendant on duty lines parted on either side of him. The easy death spirits walked right between his front paws and under his belly, which they could do without even crouching. I'm starting to see him better, I muttered. Why is that? I think, Annabeth moistened her lips. I'm afraid it's because we're getting close to being dead. The dog's middle head craned toward us. It sniffed the air and growled. It can smell the living, I said. But that's okay, Grover said, trembling next to me, because we have a plan. Yeah, right, Annabeth said. I never heard her voice sound quite so small. A plan. We moved toward the monster. The middle head snarled at us, then barked so loud my eyeballs rattled. Can you understand it? I asked Grover. Oh yeah, he said. I can understand it. What's it saying? I don't think humans have a 4-letter word that translates exactly. I took the big stick out of my backpack, a bedpost. I broke it off Krusty's Safari Deluxe floor model. I held it up and tried to channel happy dog thoughts towards Cerberus. Alpo commercials, cute little puppies, 5 hydrates. I tried to smile, like I wasn't about to die. Hey, big fella, I called up. I bet they don't play with you much. Good boy, I said weakly. I waved the stick. The dog's middle head followed the movement. The other two heads trained their eyes on me, completely ignoring the spirits. I had Cerberus's undivided attention. I wasn't sure that was a good thing. Fetch! I threw the stick into the gloom, a good solid throw. I heard it go kerspsh in the river Styx. Cerberus glared at me unimpressed. His eyes were baleful and odd, and cold. So much for the plan. Cerberus was now making the new kind of growl, deeper down in his three throats. Percy? Grover said. Yeah? I just thought you'd want to know. Yeah? Cerberus? You say we've got 10 seconds to pray to the god of our choice. After that, well, he's hungry. Wait! Annabeth said. She started rifling through her pack. Uh-oh, I thought. 5 seconds, Grover said. Do we run now? Annabeth produced a red rubber ball in the size of a grapefruit. It was labeled Waterland, Denver, Colorado. Before I could stop her, she raised the ball and marched straight up to Cerberus. She shouted, See the ball? You want the ball, Cerberus? Sit! Cerberus looked as stunned as we were. All 3 of his heads cocked sideways, 6 nostrils dilated. Sit! Annabeth called again. I was sure that any moment she could become the world's largest milk-bone dog biscuit. But instead, Cerberus licked his 3 sets of lips, shifted it on his hunches, and sat immediately crushing a dozen spirits who'd been passing underneath him in the easy death line. The spirits made muffled hisses as they dissipated, like the air let out of trees. Annabeth said, Good boy! She threw Cerberus the ball. He caught it in his middle mouth. It was barely big enough for him to chew, and the other head started snapping at the middle, trying to get the new toy. Drop it! Annabeth ordered. Cerberus's head stopped fighting and looked at her. The ball was wedged between 2 of his teeth and a tiny piece of gum. He made a loud, scary whimper, then dropped the ball, now slightly and bitten nearly in half, at Annabeth's feet. Good boy! She picked up the ball, ignoring the monster's spit all over it. She turned to us. Go now! Easy deathline. It's faster. I said, But now! She ordered, in the same tone she was using on the dog. Grover and I inched forward warily. Cerberus started to growl. Stay! Annabeth ordered the monster. If you want the ball, stay! Cerberus whimpered, but he stayed where he was. What about you? I asked Annabeth as we passed her. I know what I'm doing, Percy, she muttered. At least I'm pretty sure. Grover and I walked between the monster's legs. Please, Annabeth, I prayed. Don't tell him to sit again. We made it through. Cerberus wasn't any less scary looking from the back. Annabeth said, Good dog! She held up the tattered red ball and probably came to the same conclusion I did. If she rewarded Cerberus, then there'd be nothing left for another trick. She threw the ball anyway. The monster's left mouth immediately snatched it up, only to be attacked by the middle head, while the right head moaned in protest. While the monster was distracted, Annabeth walked briskly under its belly and joined us at the metal detector. How did you do that? I asked, amused. Obedience school, she said breathlessly, and I was surprised to see there were tears in her eyes. When I was little, at my dad's house, we had a Doberman. Never mind that, Grover said, tugging at my shirt. Come on! We were about to bolt through the easy death line when Cerberus moaned pitifully from all 3 mouths. Annabeth stopped. She turned to face the dog, which had done a 180 to look at us. Cerberus panted expectantly, a tiny red ball in pieces, and a puddle of drool at its feet. Good boy, Annabeth said, but her voice sounded melancholy and uncertain. The monster's head turned sideways as if worried about her. I'll bring you another ball soon, Annabeth promised faintly. Would you like that? The monster whimpered. I didn't need to speak dog to know Cerberus was still waiting for the ball. Good dog. I'll come visit you soon. I promise. Annabeth turned to us. Let's go. Grover and I pushed through the metal detector, which immediately screamed and set off flashing red lights. Unauthorized possessions. Magic detected. Cerberus started to bark. We burst through the easy death gate, which started even more alarms blaring, and raced into the underworld. A few minutes later we were hiding, out of breath. It's rotting in the rotten trunk of an immense black tree as security ghouls scuttled past, yelling for backup from the Furies. Grover muttered, Well, Percy, what did we learn today? That three-headed dogs prefer red rubber balls over sticks? No, Grover told me. We've learned that your plans really bite. I wasn't sure about that. I thought maybe Annabeth and I had both the right ideas. Even here in the underworld, everybody, even monsters, needed a little attention once in a while. I thought about that as we waited for the ghouls to pass. I pretended not to see Annabeth wipe a tear from her cheek as she listened for the mournful keening of Cerberus in the distance, longing for his new friend. That little bit was very fitting for that last paragraph on this chapter, if I do say so myself. Also, can I say this music sounds like something that came out of Silent Hill? Because it really does. Alright, final chapter of the part. And then we have chapters 20 through 22 to read after that. So we're going to go ahead and turn this back to start. Chapter 19. We find out the truth. Sort of. Imagine the largest concert crowd you've ever seen. A football field packed with 1 million fans. Now imagine a field 1 million times that big, packed with people, and imagine the electricity has gone out, and there's no noise, no light, no beach ball bouncing around over the crowd. Something tragic has happened backstage. Whispering masses of people are just milling around in the shadows, waiting for a concert that will never start. If you can picture that, you have a pretty good idea what the field of Asphodel looked like. The black grass had been trampled by eons of dead feet. A warm, moist wind blew like the breath of a swamp. Black trees, Grover told me they were poplars, grew in clumps here and there. The cavern ceiling was so high above us that it might have been a bank of storm clouds, except for the stalactites, which glowed faint gray and looked wickedly pointed. I try not to imagine they don't fall on us at any moment, but dotted around the fields were several that had fallen and impaled themselves in the black grass. I guess the dead didn't have to worry about little hazards like being speared by stalactites the size of booster rockets. Annabeth, Grover, and I tried to blend into the crowd, keeping an eye out for security ghouls. I couldn't help looking for any familiar faces among the spirits of Asphodel, but the dead are hard to look at. Their faces shimmer. They all look slightly angry or confused. They will come up to you and speak, but those voices sound like chatter, like bats twirling or twittering. Once they realize you can't understand them, they frown and move away. The dead aren't scary, they're just sad. We crept along, following the lines of new arrivals that snaked from the main gates toward the black-tinted pavilion with a banner that read, Judgments for Elysium and Eternal Damnation. Welcome, newly deceased. Out the back of the tent came two much smaller lines. To the left, spirits flanked by security ghouls. We marched down a rocky path and toward the fields of punishment, which glowed and smoked in the distance, a vast corrupt wasteland with rivers of lava and minefields and miles of barbed wire separating the different torture areas. Even from far away, I could see people being chased by hellhounds, burned at the stake, forced to run naked through the cactus patches or listen to opera music. I could just make out a tiny hill with an ant-sized figure of Sisyphus struggling to move his boulder to the top. And I saw worse tortures too, things I don't want to describe. The line coming from the river side of that judgment pavilion was much better. This one led down a small valley surrounded by walls, a gated community which which seems to be the only happy part of the underworld. Behind the security gate were neighborhoods of beautiful houses from every time period in history. Roman villas and medieval castles and Victorian mansions. Silver and gold flowers bloomed on the lawns. The grass rippled in rainbow colors. I could hear laughter and smell barbecue cooking. Elysium. In the middle of that valley was a glittering blue lake with three small islands like a vacation resort in the Bahamas. The Isles of the Blessed for people who had chosen to be reborn 3 times and 3 times achieved Elysium. Immediately I knew that's where I wanted to go when I did. That's what it's all about, Annabeth said, as she was reading my thoughts. That's the place for heroes. But I thought of how few people there were in Elysium, how tiny it was compared to the fields of Asphodel, or even the fields of punishment. So few people did good in their lives. It was depressing. We left the Judgment Pavilion and moved deeper into the Asphodel's fields. It got darker. The colors faded from our clothes. The crowds of chattering points began to thin. After a few minutes of walking, we began to hear a familiar screech in the distance. Looming on the horizon was a palace of glistening black obsidian. Above the parapets swirled 3 dark bat-like creatures from the furries. I got the feeling they were waiting for us. I suppose it's too late to turn back, Grover said wisely. Why's that? I tried to sound confident. Maybe we should see some of the other places first, Grover suggested. Like Elysium, for instance. Come on, goat boy, Annabeth grabbed his arm. Grover yelped. His sneakers sprouted wings and his legs shot forward, pulling him away from Annabeth. He landed flat on his back in the grass. Grover, Annabeth chided. Stop messing around. But I didn't, he yelped again. His shoulders were flopping like crazy now. They levitated off the ground and started dragging him away from us. Maya! He yelled, but the magic word seemed to have no effect. Maya already! 911! Help! I got over being stunned and made a grab for Grover's hand, but too late. He was picking up speed, skidding downhill like a bobsled. We ran after him. Annabeth shouted, Untie the shoes! It was a smart idea, but I guess it's not as easy when you pull shoes are pulling you, along with pulling you along feet first at full speed. Grover tried to sit up, but he couldn't get close to the faces. We kept after him, trying to keep him in sight as he zipped between the lanes of court spirits, and we chatted at him in annoyance. I was some Grover was going to barrel straight through the name of Hades' place, but his shoes were veered sharply to the right, and I dragged him in the apartment in the opposite directions. The some got more apiece. Grover picked up the rope. Annabeth and I had two spirit to clean up. The cameraman walks narrow other side. and I realize we'd encounter some of music's kind of uh, high tunnel. The the black grass or trees now just too comfortable, and I'm in the dim light of the satellite star. Hmm. Hmm. I'm gonna go ahead. I can feel something coming here, so I'm gonna go ahead. Take a little breather. There you go. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hmm. Hmm. So I'm gonna try to find something to play while I'm busy doing what I'm doing outside real quick. Hmm. 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 Trying to find a good one, but I can't seem to find one. Not really. Not right now, anyway. Alright. So I'm gonna go ahead, take a little breather, and I will be right back. And I completely forgot that I said I was gonna shut that door. There we go. Kick these out here. Okay. I am back. Alright. Alright. And let's everything all get clear. There we go. And let's get back into it. Let's see here. The slope got steeper. Clover picked up speed. Annabeth. Wait a minute. In the middle of that valley was a glittering blue lake with 3 small islands and a vacation resort in the Bahamas. The Isles of the Blessed, for people who had chosen to be reborn 3 times, and 3 times achieved Elysium. Immediately I knew that's where I wanted to go when I died. That's what it's all about, Annabeth said when she was reading my thoughts. That's the place for heroes. But I thought of how few people there were in Elysium, how tiny it was compared to the fields of Asphodel, or even the fields of punishment. So few people did good in that lives. It was depressing. We left the Judgment Pavilion and moved deeper into the Asphodel fields. It got dark. The colors faded from our clothes. The crowds from chanting spirits began to thin. After a few miles of walking, we began to hear a familiar screech in the distance. Looming on the horizon was a palace of glittering black obsidian. Above the parapets swirled 3 dark bat-like creatures, the Furies. I got the feeling they were waiting for us. I suppose it's too late to turn back, Grover said wistfully. We'll be okay, I said, trying to sound confident. Maybe we should search some of the other places first, Grover suggested. Like Elysium, for instance. Come on, goat boy, Annabeth grabbed his arm. Grover yelped. The sneaker sprouted rings and he bent, his legs shot forward, pulling him away from Annabeth. He landed flat on his back on the grass. Grover, Annabeth chided. Stop messing around. But I didn't. He yelped again. His shoes were flapping like crazy now. He levitated off the ground and started dragging them away from us. Maya! He yelled, but the magic word seemed to have no effect. Maya already! 911! Help! I got over being stunned and made a grab for Grover's hand, but too late. He was picking up speed, sliding downhill like a bobsled. We ran after him. Annabeth shouted, Untie the shoes! It was a smart idea, but I guess it's not so easy when your shoes are pulling you along feet first at full speed. Grover tried to sit up, but he couldn't get close to the laces. We crept after him, trying to keep him in sight as he zipped between the lanes of spirits who chatted at him in annoyance. I was sure Grover was going to barrel straight through the gates of Hades' palace, but his shoes were veered sharply to the right. They dragged him in the opposite direction. The slope got steeper. Grover picked up speed. Annabeth and I had to sprint to keep up. The cavern walls narrowed on either side, and I realized we'd entered some kind of side tunnel. No black grass or trees now, just rock underfoot and the dim light of the stalactites above. Grover! I yelled, my voice echoing. Hold on to something! What? He yelled back. He was grabbing at gravel, but there was nothing big enough to slow him down. The tunnel got darker and colder. The hairs on my arms bristled. It smelled evil down here. It made me think of things I shouldn't even know about. Blood spilled on an ancient stone altar. The foul breath of a murderer. Then I saw what was ahead of us, and I stopped dead in my tracks. The tunnel widened into a huge dark cavern, and in the middle was a chasm the size of a city block. Grover was sliding straight toward the edge. Come on, Percy! Come on, Percy! Annabeth yelled, tugging at my wrist. But that's... I know! She shouted. The place you described in your dream! The Grover's going to fall if we don't catch him! She was right, of course. Grover's predicament got me moving again. He was yelling, clawing at the ground, but the winged shoes kept dragging him toward the pit, and it didn't look like we could possibly get to him in time. What saved him were his hooves. The flying sneakers had always been a loose fit on him, and finally, Grover hit a big rock and left shoe came flying off. It sped into the darkness, down into the chasm. The right shoe kept tugging him along, but not as fast. Grover was able to slow himself down by grabbing onto the big rock and using it like an anchor. He was 10 feet from the edge of the pit when we caught him and hauled him back up the slope. The other winged shoe tugged itself off, circled around us angrily, and kicked our heads in protest before flying off into the chasm to join its twin. We all collapsed, exhausted, on the obsidian gravel. My limbs felt like lead. Even my backpack seemed heavier, as if somebody had filled it with rocks. Grover was scratched up pretty bad. His hands were bleeding. His eyes had gone slit-pupiled, goat-style, the way they did whenever he was terrified. I don't know how, he panted. I didn't. Wait, I said. Listen. I heard something. A deep whisper in the darkness. Another few seconds, and Annabeth said, Percy, this place, shh. I stood. The sound was getting louder. A muttering evil voice from far, far below us, coming up from the pit. Grover sat up. What's that noise? Annabeth heard it too, now. I could see it in her eyes. Tartarus. The entrance to Tartarus. I untucked enough loose moss. The bronze sword expanded, gleaming in the darkness. And the evil voice seemed to falter, just for a moment, before resuming its chant. I could almost make out words now. Ancient words. Older than even Greek. As if... Magic, I said. We have to get out of here, Annabeth said. Together we dragged Grover to his hooves and started back up the tunnel. My legs wouldn't move fast enough. My backpack weighed me down. The voice got louder and angrier behind us, and we broke into a run. Not a moment too soon. A cold blast of wind pulled at our backs, as if the entire pit was inhaling. For a terrifying moment I lost ground, my feet slipping in the gravel. If we'd been any closer to the edge, we would have been sucked in. We were struggling forward and finally reached the top of the tunnel, where the cavern widened out into the fields of asphodel. The wind died. A wall of outrage echoed from deep in the tunnel. Something was not happy we'd gotten away. What was that? Grover panted when we collapsed in the relative safety of a black poplar grove. One of Hades' pets? Annabeth and I looked at each other. I could tell she was nursing an idea. Probably the same one she'd gotten during the taxi ride to L.A., but she was too scared to share it. That was enough to terrify me. I cracked my sword and put the pen back in my pocket. Let's keep going. I looked at Grover. Can you walk? He swallowed. Yeah, sure. I never liked those shoes anyway. He tried to sound brave about it, but he was trembling as badly as Annabeth and I were. Whatever was in that pit was nobody's pet. It was unspeakably old and powerful. Even Echidna hadn't given me that feeling. I was almost relieved to turn my back on that tunnel and head toward the Palace of Hades. Almost. The Furies circled the parapets, high in the bloom. The outer walls of the fortress glittered black, and the two-story tall bronze gates stood wide open. Up close I saw that the engravings on the gates were scenes of death. Some were from modern times, an atomic bomb exploding over a city, a trench filled with gas masks wearing soldiers, a line of African famine victims waiting with empty bowls, but all of them looked as if they'd been etched into the bronze thousands of years ago. I wondered if I was looking at prophecies that had come true. Inside the courtyard was the strangest garden I'd ever seen. Multicolored mushrooms, poisonous shrubs, and weird luminous plants grew without sunlight. Precious jewels made up from the lack of flowers. Piles of rubies as big as my fist, clumps of raw diamonds. Standing here and there like frozen party guests were Medusa's garden statues, petrified children, satyrs, and centaurs, all smiling grotesquely. In the center of the garden was an orchard of pomegranate trees. Their orange blooms neon bright in the dark. The garden of Persephone, Annabeth said. Keep walking. I understood why she wanted to move on. The tart smell of those pomegranates was almost overwhelming. I had a sudden desire to eat them, but then I remembered the story of Persephone. One bite of Underworld food and we would never be able to leave. I pulled Grover away to keep him from picking a big juicy one. We walked up the steps of the palace, between black columns, to a black marble portico, and into the House of Hades. The entry hall had a polished bronze floor, which seemed to boil in the reflected torchlight. There was no ceiling, just a covered roof far above. The best they never had to worry about rain down here. Every side doorway was guarded by a skeleton in military gear. Some wore Greek armor, some British redcoat uniforms, some camouflaged with tattered American flags on the shoulders. They carried spears or muskets or M16s. None of them bothered us, but their hollow eye sockets followed us as we walked down the hall toward the big set of doors at the opposite end. 2 U.S. Marine skeletons guarded the doors. They grinned down at us, rocket-propelled grenade launchers held across their chests. You know, Grover mumbled, I bet Hades doesn't have trouble with door-to-door salesmen. My backpack weighed a ton now. I couldn't figure out why. I wanted to open it, just to see if I had somehow picked up a stray bowling ball, but this wasn't the time. Well, guys, I said, I suggest we should knock? A hot wind blew down the corridor, and the door swung open. The guard stepped aside. I guess that means Entrées Rose, Annabeth said. The room inside looked just like in my dreams, except this time the throne of Hades was occupied. He was the third god I'd met, but the first 2 really struck me as godlike. He was at least 10 foot tall, for one thing, and dressed in black silk robes and a crown of braided gold. His skin was albino white, his hair shoulder length and jet black. He wasn't bulked up like Ares, but he radiated power. He lounged on his throne of fused human bones, looking lithy, graceful, and dangerous as a panther. I immediately felt like he should be living the orders. He knew more than I did. He should be my master. Then I told myself to snap out of it. Hades' aura was affecting me, just like Larry's had. The Lord of the Dead resembled pictures I'd seen of Adolf Hitler, or Napoleon, or the terrorist leaders who direct suicide bombers. Hades had the same intense eyes, the same kind of mesmerizing evil charisma. I'm pretty certain that Adolf Hitler's first name was not spelled Adolph. I'm pretty sure it was Adolf. I'm sorry, I'm a grammar freak. I can't help it. I sometimes don't like it when people misspell things, especially with names. So yeah. Hades had the same intense eyes, the same kind of mesmerizing evil charisma. You are brave to come here, son of Poseidon, he said in an oily voice. After what you have done to me, very brave indeed. Or perhaps you are simply very foolish. Numbness crept into my joints, tempting me to lie down and just take a little nap at Hades' feet, curl up here and sleep forever. I fought the feeling and stepped forward. I knew what I had to say. Lord and Uncle, I come with 2 requests. Hades raised an eyebrow. When he sat forward in his throne, shadowy faces appeared in the folds of his black robes, faces of torment, as if the garment were stitched of trapped souls from the fields of punishment, trying to get out. The ADHD part of me wondered off task whether the rest of his clothes were made of the same way. What horrible things would you have to do in your life to get woven into Hades' underwear? Only 2 requests, Hades said. Arrogant child, as if you had not already taken enough. Speak then. It amuses me not to strike you dead yet. I swallowed. This was going about as well as I had feared. I glanced at the empty, smaller throne next to Hades. It was shaped like a black flower, gilded with gold. I wished Queen Persephone was here. I recalled something in the midst about how she could calm her husband's moods, but it was summer. Of course, Persephone would be above in the world of light with her mother, the goddess of agriculture, Demeter. Her visits, not the tilt of the planet, create the seasons. Annabeth cleared her throat. Her feeler prodded me in the back. Lord Hades, I said. Look, sir, there can't be a war among the gods. It would be bad. Really bad, Clover added hopefully. Return Zeus's master bolt to me, I said. Please, sir, let me carry it to Olympus. Hades' eyes grew dangerously bright. You dare keep up this pretense after what you have done? I glanced back at my friends. They looked as confused as I was. Uncle, I said, you keep saying after what you've done. What exactly have I done? The throne room shook with a tremor so strong they probably felt it upstairs in Los Angeles. Debris fell from the cavern ceiling. Doors burst open all along the walls, and skeletal warriors marched in, hundreds of them, from every time period and nation in Western civilization. They lined the perimeter of the room, blocking the exits. Hades bellowed, Do you think I want war, godling? I wanted to say, well, these guys don't look like peace activists. but I thought that might be a dangerous answer. You are the Lord of the Dead, I said carefully. A war would expand your kingdom, right? A typical thing for my brothers to say. Do you think I need more subjects? Did you not see the sprawl of the Asphodel fields? Well, have you any idea how much my kingdom has swollen in this past century alone? How many subdivisions I've had to open? I opted to respond, but Hades was on a roll now. More security rules, he moaned. Traffic problems at the Judgment Pavilion. Double overtime for the staff I used to be a rich god, Percy Jackson. I control all the precious metals under the earth. But my expenses! Karen wants a pay raise, I blurted, just remembering the fact. As soon as I said it, I wished I could sew my own mouth. Don't get me started on Karen! Hades yelled. He's been impossible ever since he discovered Italian suits. Problems everywhere, and I've got to handle all of them personally. The commute time alone from the palace to the gates is enough to drive me insane. And the dead just keep arriving. No, Godwin. I need no help getting subjects. I did not ask for this war. But you took Zeus's Master Bolt. Lies! More rumbling. Hades rose from his throne, towering to the height of a football goalpost. Your father may fool Zeus, boy, but I am not stupid. I see his plan. His plan? You were the thief on the winter solstice, he said. Your father thought to keep you his little secret. He directed you into the throne room on Olympus. You took the Master Bolt and my helm. Had I not sent my fury to discover you at Yancey Academy, Poseidon might have succeeded in hiding his sleeve to start a war. But now you have been forced into the open. You will be exposed as Poseidon's thief, and I will have my helm back. But, Annabeth spoke, but I could tell her mind was going a million miles an hour. Lord Hades, your helm of darkness is missing too? Do not play innocent with me, girl. You and the satyr have been helping this hero, coming here to threaten me in Poseidon's name, no doubt, to bring me an ultimatum. Does Poseidon think I'm to be blackmailed into supporting him? No, I said. Poseidon didn't. I didn't. I have said nothing of the helm's disappearance, Hades snarled. Because I have no illusions that anyone on Olympus would offer me the slightest justice, the slightest help. I can ill afford for word to get out that my most powerful weapon of fear is missing. So I searched for you myself, and when it was clear you were coming to me to deliver your threat, I did not try to stop you. You didn't try to stop us, but return my helm now, or I will stop death, Hades threatened. That is my counter-proposal. I will open the earth and have the dead pour back into the world. I will make your lands a nightmare. And you, Percy Jackson, your skeleton will lead my army out of Hades. The skeletal soldiers all took one step forward, making their weapons ready. At that point, I probably should have been terrified. The strange thing was, I felt offended. Nothing makes me angrier than being accused of something I didn't do. I've had a lot of experience with that. You're as bad as Zeus, I said. You think I stole from you? That's why you sent the Furies after me? Of course, Hades said. And the other monsters? Hades curled his lips. I had nothing to do with them. I wasted no quick death for you. I wanted no quick death from you. I wanted you brought before me alive, so you might face every torture in the fields of punishment. Why do you think I let you into my kingdom so easily? Easily? Return my property! But I don't have your helm. I came for the Master Bolt, which you already possessed, Hades shouted. You came here with it, little fool, thinking you threaten me. But I didn't. Open your pack then. A horrible feeling struck me. The weight of my backpack, like a bowling ball. It couldn't be. I slung it off my shoulder and unzipped it. Inside was a 2-foot long metal cylinder, spiked on both ends, humming with energy. Percy, Annabeth said. How? I don't know. I don't understand. You heroes are all the same, Hades said. Your pride makes you foolish, thinking you could bring such a weapon before me. I did not ask for Zeus's Master Bolt, but since it is here, you will yield it to me. I am sure it will make an excellent beginning tool. And now, my helm. Where is it? I was speechless. I had no helm. I had no idea how the Master Bolt had gotten into my backpack. On one of the things, Hades was pulling some kind of trick. Hades was the bad guy, but suddenly the world turned sideways. I realized I had been played with. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades had been set at each other's throats by someone else. The Master Bolt had been in the backpack, and I'd gotten the backpack from... Lord Hades, wait, I said. This is all a mistake. A mistake? Hades roared. The skeletons aimed their weapons. From high above there was a fluttering of leathery wings, and the three Furies swooped down to perch on the back of their master's throne. The one with Mrs. Dodd's face grinned at me eagerly and flicked her whip. There is no mistake, Hades said. I know why you have come. I know the real reason you brought the bolt. You came to bargain for her. Hades loosed a ball of gold fire from his palm. It exploded on the steps in front of me, and there was my mother, frozen in a shower of gold, just as she was at the moment the Minotaur began to squeeze her to death. I couldn't speak. I reached out to touch her, but the light was as hot as a bonfire. Yes, Hades said with satisfaction. I took her. I knew, Percy Jackson, that you would come to bargain with me, eventually. Return my helm, and perhaps I will let her go. She is not dead, you know. Not yet. But if you displease me, that will change. I thought about the pearls in my pocket. Maybe they could get me out of this. If I could just get my mom free. Ah, the pearls, Hades said, and my blood froze. Yes, my brother and his little tricks. Bring them forth, Percy Jackson. My hands moved against my will and brought out the pearls. Only 3, Hades said. What a shame. You do realize each only protects a single person. Try to take your mother, then, little godling. And which of your friends will you leave behind to spend eternity with me? Go on. Choose. Or give me the backpack and accept my terms. I looked at Annabeth and Grover. Their faces were grim. We were tricked, I told them. Set up. Yes, but why? Annabeth asked. And the voice in the pit? I don't know yet, I said. But I intend to ask. Decide, boy! Hades yelled. Percy, Grover put his hand on my shoulder. You can't give him the bolt. I know that. Leave me here, he said. Use the 3rd pearl on your mom. No! I'm a satyr, Grover said. We don't have souls like humans do. You can torture me until I die, but it won't get me forever. I'll just be reincarnated as a flower or something. It's the best way. No, Annabeth drew her bronze knife. You two go on, Grover. You have to protect Percy. You have to get your searcher's license and start your quest for Pan. Get his mom out of here. I'll cover you. I plan to go down fighting. No way, Grover said. I'm staying behind. Think again, goat boy, Annabeth said. Stop it! Both of you! I felt like my heart was being ripped in two. They had both been with me through so much. I remembered Grover dive bombing Medusa in the statue garden, and Annabeth saving us from Cerberus. We survived Hephaestus's waterslide ride, the St. Louis Arch, the Lotus Casino. I had spent thousands of miles worried that I'd be betrayed by a friend, but these friends would never do that. They had done nothing but save me, over and over, and now they wanted to sacrifice their lives for my mom. I know what to do, I said. Take these. I handed them each a pearl. Annabeth said, But Percy. I turned and faced my mother. I desperately wanted to sacrifice myself and use the last pearl on her, but I knew what she would say. She would never allow it. I had to get the bolt back to Olympus and tell Zeus the truth. I had to stop the war. She would never forgive me if I saved her instead. I thought about the prophecy made in Half-Blood Hill, what seemed like a million years ago. You will fail to save what matters most in the end. I'm sorry, I told her. I'll be back. I'll find a way. The smug look on Hades' face faded. He said, Godling? I'll find your helm, Uncle, I told him. I'll return it. Remember about Karen's pay raise. Do not defy me. And it wouldn't hurt to play with Cerberus once in a while. He likes red rubber balls. Percy Jackson, you will not, I shouted. Now, guys! We smashed the pearl at our feet. For a scary moment, nothing happened. Hades yelled, Destroy them! The army of skeletons rushed forward, swords out, guns clicking to full automatic. The Furies lunged, their whips bursting into flame. Just as the skeletons opened fire, the pearl fragments at my feet exploded with a burst of green light and a gust of fresh sea wind. I was encased in a milky white sphere, which was starting to float off the ground. Annabeth and Grover were right behind me. Spears and bullets sparked harmlessly off the pearl bubbles as we floated up. Hades yelled with such rage, the entire fortress shook, and I knew it was not going to be a peaceful night in L.A. Look up! Grover yelled. We're going to crash! Sure enough, we were racing right toward the stalactites, which I figured would pop out bubbles and skewer us. How do you control these things? Annabeth shouted. I don't think you could. You do, I shouted back. We screamed as the bubbles slammed into the ceiling and darkness. Were we dead? No. I could feel the racing sensation. We were going up. Right through solid rock as easily as an air bubble in water. That was the power of the pearls, I realized. What belongs to the sea will always return to the sea. For a few moments I couldn't see anything outside the smooth walls of my spheres. Then my pearl broke through on the ocean floor. The two other milky spheres, Annabeth and Grover, took pace with me as we soared upward through the water. And kerblam! We exploded on the surface in the middle of the Santa Monica Bay, knocking the surfer off his board with an indignant, Dude! I grabbed Grover and hauled him over to a life buoy. I caught Annabeth and dragged her over too. A curious shark was circling us, a great white about 11 feet long. I said, Beat it! The shark turned and raced away. The surfer screamed something about bad mushrooms and paddled away from us as fast as he could. Somehow I knew what time it was. Early morning, June 21st, the day of the summer solstice. In the distance, Los Angeles was on fire, plumes of smoke rising from neighborhoods all over the city. There had been an earthquake, all right, and it was Hades' fault. He was probably sending an army of the dead after me right now. But at the moment, the Underworld wasn't my biggest problem. I had to get to shore. I had to get Zeus's thunderbolt back to Olympus. Most of all, I had to have a serious conversation with the god who'd tricked me. And now we're on the final part of Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief. This part will contain Chapter 20, I Battled My Jerk Relative. Chapter 21, I Settle My Tab. In Chapter 22, the prophecy comes true. It's gonna be a wild finale, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're there for the ride. Because tomorrow I'll be reading the final part of this and Slobberknocker, My Life in Wrestling. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, this is Forrest Walpole, signing off.